Okay, welcome back everybody to Coffee and Art. And oh dear, in the morning. So we're working into part 3 now of working in the Color My Sketchbook 25 Grayscale Sketches by Bennett Klein. This is book 2, and Suzanne gifted these to me, 1 and 2. So this is part 3, and now we are working on the horns that are like doll sheep horns on a deer with a human girl body. So this is the full picture here. The background is colored in with a black pit pen, Faber-Castell black brush tip pen, except I went around the edges with black paint where so I could pull some white color pencil on top of the paint, and that's in the last part. So I won't go over it again, otherwise we won't make any progress. So now what I'm going to do is move my pencil shavings over here. I'm going to work on doing the doll sheep shading. Hi, Lysenia. All right, so what I'm using so far is the yellow ochre to put a base. Just that's all it is a light coat of yellow ochre over the whole thing. My page is curling right here. I need to put a clip on it or something. My sleeve keeps bumping into the page and it's curling my page. Okay, so now I'm going to take goldenrod, which is just a little bit darker. And I think I'm also going to get, let's see what shade of brown do I want to see. I think I'm going to go with the light umber. So these 3 colors, at least to start, is what I'm going to do the horn. Now, because it's grayscale, and we're just talking about this, the shadows, let me hold it up. The shadows are kind of done for you. So you kind of can tell where the shadows are, where you can add darkness. Okay, that's one of the cool things about the grayscale. So I'm going to sharpen my light umber here. Now let's start with this. We can always get in there with some darker after this, but I'm going to start with that. Okay, so all it right now is just got a base of yellow ochre over both horns. Now I'm going to go in here with my light umber. Again, I cannot stress it enough. I do not know how to stress it enough. A light touch. You have to build up the layers with a light touch with color pencil. You can't just bear down and you will not be able to blend if you do that. You want a light touch. So I'm just going to go over, I'm going to start by just going over the grayscale. Okay, I'm just going over the grayscale with the, let's say, light umber. And I'll show you the difference as we go along. So essentially what I'm doing is getting rid of the gray. I'm getting rid of the gray with, another layer. Because the gray still shows through with the light color of the ochre. So I'm just going to add a nice little coating of the light umber all along the edges, and I'll show you the difference. I'll do one side then the other so you can see the difference that just a light coat will make. Okay, I'm taking my time with, oh, sorry guys. I'm taking my time, which, sometimes we don't always do on streams because we're trying to get something done in a certain amount of time. But, yeah. You're coloring while watching. Oh, good. I'm not putting any, I'm not bearing down at all, guys. Again, I know it sounds like repetitive and, but it's so important. It's just, you don't know how important it is not to bear down. You got to just keep building up, building up, building up. Light, light. Oh, and the other thing I want to tell you too, this is a good place to show you, is where you see the grayscale lines, like see how it's humping over right there? Here it's straight going this way. shade in the direction of those lines. In other words, here shade this way, here you can shade this way. Follow the contours of your grayscale. That's also good practice for other things. Color books are so good for practice for so many things. Okay. So just follow your contour lines that are already there and just and I'll show you the difference between the two sides when I get just this one part done. You all doing okay? No questions or anything? We're good? Okay. Okay, there's a first layer of shading on top of the yellow ochre. Okay, so this is what we started with. This is just a coat of yellow ochre. Okay, and here's where we've added the first layer of some light sienna. See, so we've gone from this to this, from that to that. Okay. Now I'm going to take the darker of the, which is is it the goldenrod? Yeah, the goldenrod. Now I'm going to take the goldenrod and blend out, because remember, the different doll sheep have different colors. I like the ones with the yellower ones, but there's some that are brown. We could, there's other ways, other colors. You could color those horns green, purple, pink. It's the same shading technique. No matter what colors you're using. Okay. I mean, I could color it purple and I'd be doing it, 3 or 4 shades of purple. So it's not so much the color as it is the shading and does that make sense? I hope. Yeah, and that's true too, Rach. Yeah, color books are very relaxing. All right, so now I'm going over the top. I'm going over the top of the sienna very lightly and pulling it just a little bit further into the yellow ochre. Okay. And again, I'll show you the two sides. Sorry guys, I forgot I have to do this side. I gotta do this side first with the first layer, with the light umber. It's getting ahead of myself. Getting ahead of myself. Well, I don't know how long you were gone. Perfect, Patty. Okay, but the grayscale does help you to kind of know where to shade and the direction of the shade. Like if this was just a horn with no lines on it, you'd have to rely on your own references to know which way the horn went, right? Because you wouldn't want to draw. Let me give you a good example here. All right, so here's the horn. Let me get a marker or something. Let's get my brush pen here. Okay, so let's just say you have the horn like this. Okay, and of course the ear's right here, so let's just put the ear in there. Okay, so let's just do the, all right, so let's just say you have the horn like that, and that's all you had. You wouldn't know that these, you might, well, I don't want to draw it on there because I'm going to draw the right way, but you might think that the line, you should just go like that, right, on the horn, but in actuality, they're curved and they're like this. So, and without these references on there, you wouldn't know that, or if you weren't looking at a picture. And that's why you got to have references. You got to have references. So whether it's the reference of the grayscale or reference of an actual photo of a doll sheep's horn, you have to, if you want it to look right. I mean, you can draw it any way you want, but it's going to look weird. It's totally, you're the boss of it. If you know. All right, let's keep going down here now. Hey, Renee, and anybody else popping in, thanks for being here. I mean, I'm enjoying this, and I hope y'all don't mind that it's going to be in some multiple parts, but I want to try to make sure it uploads, you know? So, hopefully. And don't forget, y'all, Barb comes on YouTube at 2. So, she's pops in here every now and then. Okay, so I'm just following the contours of the grayscale. Okay, hope my hand's held back far enough where you can see it. Bye, Lysenia. Thanks for stopping in on your break. All right, so now I got that, the first layer of shading with that color on this side with the light sienna, light umber. All right, so now we're going to go back over. Let me put this pen down. I'm going to go over where we started here with the goldenrod, which, like I said, I'm going over the first layer of umber and then pulling it in. Let's see if I can hold this up just a little. So I'm going over the umber, completely over the umber, but also up past it just a little bit to give it another color. I hope that's showing up. You can see it here, right? But that's what I'm doing. I'm just pulling the color up a little farther and also going over that first layer. Okay, Barb, thanks for stopping in. And it's a light touch. It's because you have a light touch that you can get all these shades, right? And we can go back in there with even some darker in a bit if we need to. But I'm just building it up, building it up. Okay, so now here is the two colors that we started with, which was the yellow ochre and then the umber. Okay, and now here it is with the goldenrod over it. So you can see how it's getting more and more dimensional. Okay, so now I got to just continue on. Light touch. Light touch. Okay, so now, here again, there's that to this, and this horn to this horn. See? All right. Now I'm going to come back over here and put the goldenrod on top of this side. Then we'll go to the next layer. Can y'all see? Bueller, Bueller. Hey Sherry, anybody else? I haven't stopped to say hi to people popping in. Thanks everybody. If I missed saying hi to you, you kind of scroll down who see who I might have missed. Kat, who else did I miss? Marie and Crocker too. Hey Debbie. DeMonte. Hey Carla. Kelly, Lori, LG, Linda, Mindy. Of course, Jean's probably napping. Poppy. Said hi to Anita and Sandy. Hey Rose, Sally. Oh, Salty. Sorry, Salty. Sandpat. Hey Sarah. Hey Sharon L. Tam. I think I said hi to everybody else. Thanks everybody. Got quite a few people here for a Friday impromptu. Janet. I try to show you everything I do. It's not a secret here. I show you everything. I show you everything. It's not like this, and I try to, and the things that you might call magic are actually things like the light touch, and I try to tell you guys that kind of stuff because there's no way I can, I try to show you how lightly I'm shading, but you're so funny. I don't have any secrets. It's like try to show you everything so you have good results too. I want everybody to have good results in their projects. Okay. So there's that layer. Maybe just a little bit more right under there. So there's the next layer. All right, now I think I'm going to get me a nice light yellow. This is it lemon yellow? Some of them are so hard to read. Let me see, where's my magnifying glass? Where's my magnifying glass? I put it. I can't read this color. Some of the colors are like light color on light pencil. Well, I can't find it, guys, so I think it's lemon yellow. I think. But it's light yellow. Light yellow. Okay? So now I'm for like the bright, other than a couple of real light, I might put a little touch of white, but doing the deer along with you, and yes, light touch is the hardest part of the coloring. Yes, thank you, Val, for that confirmation. All right, so now I'm going to take the lemon yellow, and just, I mean, barely going right along the middle there. Just the lightest, just the kind of a glow, just a little bit of a glow. And we might even put a little touch of white in there later. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of, just a tiny bit. I'm really trying to maybe just say get rid of the white of the paper a little bit more by just putting a little bit of yellow. And again, the doll sheep horns can be a lot of different shades of brown and yellows and all that. I'm going a little on the brighter side with the yellow ochres and the uh, you know and the sienna, but you could do it a darker brown too. Whatever. I just wanted a contrast between the deer head. All right, so there's that layer. So let's show you and I just put a very little bit. So here's it without the yellow, and here's it with. See? It's subtle. Let's see if you can see it better here. Here's without, and here's with. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and do this one too. Just the lightest little coat of yellow down the center there. And then we're going to go in with a little bit more darker. Okay, so I'm just kind of, just the little touch of yellow here. And it's a constant going back and forth. If you see you need a little bit darker in one area, you pick up the darker and go with that. If you think you need a little bit lighter, you just keep blending, and it's a back and forth. All right, now I'm going to find my dark brown. Where's my dark brown? Where'd my dark brown go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, it does add dimension. Now I'm going to go with the dark brown. It's called dark brown. Sharpen it nice. And here is where those little time-consuming little details come into play. I'm not only going to darken right along the edge here, right, like for instance along the edge of his ear, but I'm also kind of pulling in up those lines. Okay, let's see if I can hold it up a little. All right, so I'm going to darken like in real close down in here, but I'm feathering it up so you don't see a harsh line. You don't want to see a line. And then going up those doll sheep ridges. See how I'm going up those little ridges like that? And then, but I'm going to feather them up. I don't want a harsh ending right there. I want it to be very light. I'm flicking it up. Flick, flick, flick. Okay. So I'm going to get some little bit darker areas, and the same thing coming the other way. Flick, 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 and just kind of, so that's not a harsh ending. You able to see that? The painted board, that kind of blend of pencil looks like paint. What do you think of the painted look? I don't quite understand the question, Carol. The painted look? Not quite understanding that, because I use paint sometimes too, so I'm not quite understanding the painted look. Okay, can y'all see what I'm doing there? Shading. But it's very light because I'm going to go back over this again with the other colors. I'm just adding a few little really darker little bits. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to just keep doing that. But I'm going to go back and blend more with the yellow ochre, or the goldenrod, whichever one it was. Goldenrod, yellow ochre. Does anyone do the heated board? So the heated board. Oh, okay, you must be talking about something else, Carrie. Sorry, y'all lost me on the heated board thing. Well, I was out of that loop. I'm out of that loop. They put the coloring pages over the heated portion. I have no idea. Are you talking about with colors? The heated portion of a table? I don't know. That's some new technique I never tried. Heated board? Sorry, Carol. Don't know what that one is. I mean, I know you can heat Crayola crayons like Miss Martha does and make, you know, melted crayon scenes, but I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. I'm sorry. So it's subtle, but look at the difference between that and that. And again, I'm going to blend that in even better. I don't know what a heated tablet is. I'm sorry. Yeah, Terry goes, "What? Heated tablet? I don't know what a heated tablet is either." Miss Martha uses a craft iron when she does Crayola, but she's not using color book pages. She makes her own scenes. She makes her own landscapes and stuff with melted crayon and a craft iron. So I don't know what a table is. I don't know if it's safe to mail to Canada yet. I haven't heard on their strike. I haven't heard. A heating pad. It melts the pencil. I've never tried it, Suzanne. Never even heard of it, to tell you the truth. Never even heard of putting like a heating pad under it. No, never. Sorry, can't comment on it. Didn't even know there was such an animal. You'll have to go Google, YouTube that. I'm sure there's somebody doing it out there. I'm sure you can find somebody doing it, but I never even heard of it. uh, what time we're okay, we're good. This is already part 3. I'm trying to do them in 45-minute segments. Okay, Suzanne. Yeah, no, I've only heard of the little craft iron, like Miss Martha melts crayons to make scenes, but I never heard of anything being used like that on a color book. So I'm just hitting some really, getting a little bit of extra dark shadows here and there. And we'll go back and blend all that in with yellow ochre back over that. And again, the reason that you can do lots of layers like that is because it's a light touch. And it just depends if I go light to dark and sometimes dark to light. It just depends on what I'm coloring, my mood. I don't really have there's no formula I use. I just kind of look at it and see what I think needs to be done. But I talk it out with you guys, whatever I'm doing. I just say, well, this is what I'm doing next, and like that. But especially in color books. Every color book's different, and if you're using, depending on what you're using too. Color pencils, paints, markers, you know, whatever it is you're using. Okay, so I did put some on here, but I haven't put it on here yet. So you can see the difference between this one now and this one. Okay, so can you see? Thanks everybody for hanging out, coloring, or whatever you're working on. Thanks, Rach. Well, whether you're coloring this or whatever anybody's coloring, you know, you can, it's, you know, a lot of the same principles, same, you know, things will work for different things. Okay, so now I'm going to go back with the golden, is it goldenrod? Yeah, goldenrod. And I'm going to go kind of like, almost like going back over what I just did. And just add a little bit more blend and a little bit more like goldenness to it. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more final little thing on this, and then we'll stop on the horns and maybe do another part. What time is it? 11, okay. So I'm just kind of blending out some of the dark there. I'm just lightly going over what I just did and blending and feathering it out. Just gives it a little bit more oomph. The more layers you add. And you can add other, I mean, I could have added some blues, some grays, some, you know, other things in there just to give it more depth, but I'm kind of keeping it just the basic colors today. So you can see, pretty easy. Okay, and I'm going to take my dark brown again. I want just a little bit darker right along the ridge there. I want that ridge to kind of show right there. Same thing for this side. I want that ridge to be defined where it kind of twirls around. All right, let's go back to blending again. Light touch. Light touch. Can't stay, but today's my last day of work. Hope to be joining you on a regular basis. Yay! Terry M. We got Terry Trouble. We have a Terry L, and then we have a Terry M. Good to have you. Thanks for stopping in. Anybody else is just joining us, we're coloring out of the Color My Sketchbook 2 Bennett Klein 25 grayscale sketches. And yeah, that's what we're coloring in today. And this is part 3. I feel like I should get crack-a-lacking, but at the same time, I wanted to, you know, take kind of a little bit more time because I want people to see that it does take time. You know, all my videos are real time, so you see how long things do take. Nothing wrong with speeded up videos. Don't email me. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add just that little punch of light. Now you can do this a couple ways. Probably the easiest way would be just with some acrylic paint. So I'm going to show you with that. Okay, so I'm going to take some acrylic paint in white. Now I know it's going to look real bright at first, but just give me a minute. All right, so I'm going to take, let's see, that white's dried out. Where's my white? Where's my white? All right, I'm going to squeeze out just a little bit of white craft paint. And I'm just going to kind of just get with a wet brush, and I'm just going to pull off a little bit on a flat brush here. It's just a little flat. You can use either side. Okay. What pencil? I'm using Prismacolor. Yeah. Premieres, yes. Prisma Premieres. All right, so I'm going to just do a little bit. I might have a little too much water in there. We'll see. Now what I'm going to do is imagine the light of the horn is like right down there where you see the light. See the lightest areas? I'm going to lightly just put a touch of extra light down the center where those lightest areas are. Now it looks white now, but just I'll show you in a second. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to turn it because I want the angle here. I'm going to turn it so I can get in between. So I'm just adding a little bit of white. It looks a little stark white, but you'll see what we're going to do in just a minute. Okay, can you see? And in some things that you do this, add white to, it might need to be pure white. You know, there are times where the pure white is what you do need. But in this case, I want to show you that it doesn't have to stay pure white when you put paint on it. But I want to get it on here first. So I'm just going to add a few little areas where it's going to be the brightest. And I'm just using the sharp side of a flat brush. You could use a little too much. You could use a tinier brush if you want. Got too much paint on there. So I'm just going to kind of go in there where the highlights are. Light touch, very light touch. Can y'all see? And it's just in the lightest areas of your color, of your, where the brightest yellow was. Can y'all see? See the difference between this and this? Now it looks real white, but hang on. And again, sometimes you might want it something really white. But I'm going to show you here in a minute what we're going to do with it. Just going in there with a little bit of light on the, where the horn would be, the light would be hitting the horn the most. Very little paint on my brush. Okay, little paint, just a little bit of paint. Okay, can y'all see? See how that made it look more rounded? Okay, the only other thing I want to say, if anybody's having to leave before we do this segment, is now you dry this and then take your lightest, either your yellow or one of the lighter colors, and when this is dry, you can kind of feather the edges of the white. In other words, or even go completely over the white to tone it back so it's not bright white. You could do yellow, or you can maybe just leave a teeny bit of the white showing and fade it in with the other colors. but it just gives it that little bit more of a pop, right? All right, so I'm going to hit it with the heat gun because you got to make sure it's dry before you go over it with pencil. All right, so now I'm going to take my yellow ochre and just kind of fade some of the edges just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and keep just the smallest bit of true white, but just kind of almost get rid of it. But it'll still be brighter where you put the white paint. It'll still be brighter than anything else there. Even if I color over the whole thing where the white is, it'll still be bright, but it won't be white. Hope that makes sense. Let me see if I can show you here. Okay, here's where the white is. See where the white paint is? And then here's where I've just gone over it. It's still bright, but it's not pure white. So I'm just barely having to touch it, just barely touching over the white, and it just knocks it back. Okay, just knocks that white back, just the slightest. But it still gives you that bright glow. Okay? It still gives you that bright glow, but it's not as it's not just stark white. Okay? So I think we're going to call that done on the horns. You can spend more time, like, you know, making sure every little edge is taken care of. You know, so yeah. Okay. All right, guys, so I'm going to stop this segment, part 3, and we'll do one more segment. And then whatever's not done, I'll just either do later. Maybe we'll do it on a stream, or if I just feel like finishing it, I'll finish it. But I do need to take another picture of this stage with my phone. Let me take a picture real quick. Okay. All right, so any questions on this part, guys, before we start another part? Yeah. Oh, let me show it again. It's Color My Sketchbook 2, and it flashes out when I close it because this is really, you know, dark gray, but as you can see, it flashes out. All right, ready? Wait for the true color. Here we go. Bam! And then bam. By Bennett Klein. It's the second one. All right, guys, so let me go ahead and stop this segment, and we will be right. I'm not leaving you guys, but if you're watching the recording, we'll go on to part 4. So just a minute.